Welcome to the True Hunt, and today's maritime story is on the decarbonization in the shipping. So for that, we have been joined by Rajeev Nair, who has been a marine engineer and has over 35 years of experience. Apart from that, he's the current president of the Institute of Marine Engineers in India. And apart from that, he's also actively involved in the shadow committees for various IMO committees as well. And apart from that, we have got the man who is hitting hard, Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Sir, welcome to the True Hunt, both of you. And we'll start the session with the decarbonization in the shipping. Sir, my first question, as you have been heading those committees with IMO, International Maritime Organization, which talks about a goal. IMO's ambition is to reduce the shipping industry's greenhouse gases emission by at least 50% by 2050 and to reduce the carbon intensity of the emission by 40% by 2030. So to achieve this goal, this is also said that a cost of achieving this will be sustainable. So what is your say on that, sir? I'll start with Rajeev Nair.
Decarbonization is coming across as a necessity now. Fundamentally, we are always asked the question, global shipping emits maybe 3%. So why so much concentration on shipping? I think we have reached the stage when we have stopped asking the question why to come to what can we do to reduce the carbon footprint, the greenhouse gas footprint, because you can see the impact of climate change all around, global warming. And that is the basic issue which is there. Now, coming to sustainability aspect, today you and I are paying a cost of this global warming issue. If we don't take action on these matters, the cost we would pay is much higher. So I would say yes, sustainable, because if we don't do this, then we are looking at even a higher cost going into the future.
As you're talking about the higher cost, it is also said the total cost of the decarbonization has been estimated at $1.65 trillion by 2050. Of course, this is a global goal. So how this is achievable?
If you break down this cost, there is some cost which would be taken by shipping, but majority of the cost is infrastructure. The infrastructure and the fuels which are required to bring about this change, because primarily you have to get to net zero CO2 emissions. So if that is to happen, you have to have carbon-free fuels.
Very rightly said. Now I'll bring in Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Sir, first of all, thank you so much from your busy schedule. You have joined from Dubai. And my question is, of course, to you is moving towards effective execution in a self-organized ecosystem related to this decarbonization. So what is your say on that, sir?
Namaskar, Gaurav. Thank you very much for this. And you are really doing a good service to Maritime India by bringing these topics to common man. Today's highlight should be of decarbonization is that, as Rajeev said rightly, the shipping is not a major contributor to the emission of global greenhouse gases in the world. Shipping always gets into a wrong place at wrong time and gets always blamed for it and attracts attention. Shipping has been always the priority or primary thing at the point in time. Every nation's history is maritime history. As far as decarbonization is concerned, it's a the hour now, and it's not only the somebody setting the goals and we fulfilling the goals. Everybody has understood, and shipping has taken the onus of. If you see the Kyoto Protocol and all those COP meetings which are happening under the UN banner, you will realize that it's thanks to our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. He is leading from the front. And I think, all of the organizations in India should support him. CO2 has been the highest in the last almost 2 million years. Today, we are talking about 500 ppm of CO2 content in the air, which is very high. And industry-wise, the shipping probably, falls somewhere in 7th or 8th number in this, So we need to see as to, the efforts are all, of course, but there has to be a collaborative, collective effort.
As you mentioned that there should be a collaborative effort. So I would again repeat the line, moving towards effective execution in a self-organized ecosystem. So how will you combine this collaborative effort in this ecosystem? Please.
Self-organizing ecosystem is something, is also a self-regulating ecosystem. So everybody, he has said just now about the checkpoints of the IMO's, the initiatives of this. So we need to have these checks and balances in place. And also, everyone who's the emitter, they have to come out with a plan, and that plan has to be properly executed.
Now, I'd like to bring in Shri Rajeev Nair. Sir, of course, as we have discussed about the green fuels related to this, I would like to ask you the availability of the alternative fuel at a market compatible prices. So that is also the need of the hour. So what would you like to say on that, please?
It's very clear. There is a difference. We have been used the worst grade of fuel, IFO 380, worst grades, which has been the cheapest fuel available because of the volumes we consume. And obviously, the green fuels are going to be more expensive. So at the moment, what is being considered is you have to bridge the gap. So one way would be how to bring down the cost of the zero emission fuels. That is how you do it. How do you incentivize not only the production of those, but also the availability of those? You must appreciate shipping is all over the world. It is no good if it is available only at few centers. Then even though you may have the technology on your ships, but you don't get the fuel, it is not going to serve the purpose. So not only the fuel availability, but the fuel availability globally has to be done. If you look at now how we are approaching at IMO, is on one hand, you're using the technical measures to reduce your fuel consumption and your carbon footprint. On the other hand, we are looking at financial measures. And you may be aware that Europe is already coming up with their scheme of where they'll be taxing emissions. So this is the sort of thing which is being done to see how to offset the lower price of a conventional fuel with a zero emission fuel and bring down that parity until the market forces take over.
Sir, as you mentioned that technical and financial aspects to be taken care of. Apart from that, the system also talks about the marine fuel chain, and alternative fuels determine ship design, engines, tanks, and ship operations. So please throw a light on that as well.
At the moment, there are various technologies being studied. You have got methanol as an alternative fuel. You've got biofuels in between in the mix as drop-in fuels. So all of these, we are used to the conventional internal combustion engines. We are looking at fuel cells, but then each and every one has got its own positives and negatives. So those are various technological concerns. What we talk of is various maturity levels. All of them are moving at various maturity levels. Therefore, there would be a bit of time. And therefore, you're looking at 2050. And finally, there are even talks of nuclear vision, maybe 2050 onwards.
Especially the whole modification of our ships in a new manner. I would like to bring in Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Sir, of course, as Mr. Nair mentioned about the Europe throwing sanctions on the ships who are doing the carbon emissions. So, sir, in that case, the regulators can set targets, urge action, support experimentation. So what kind of regulatory power we can see in this aspect related to decarbonization?
It's not going to be that easy as we speak. There's going to be a lot of time gap, as you said very rightly. 2050 is not even ample time for change of ship designs. We've got about 9,000 vessels flying in the world today. And, there are already some areas which are excluded from emitting the high, sulfur and high carbon fuel have been already excluded. So we got the entire regulation to be set up for the whole world. And again, the rights of the small island states, right of the, developing countries, and underdeveloped countries have to be, supported. So the entire ecosystem has to come together.
Sir, I would like to bring in Shri Nair. Sir, my question to you is sustainable shipping and EEDI, EEXI, and CII. They are some main terms, but I would like you to elaborate for the layman's, as we'll start with Energy Efficiency Design Index. So how this is moving towards the sustainable goal?
These were the basic technical measures. Existing ships were EEXI. Design aspects to be taken care was EEDI. And now to make sure that we have control over how ships are performing, we're degrading them into 5 categories under CII, that is A, B, C, D, E, where A, B, C would be the ones which will be allowed to sort of operate, while D and B will have to move into C. So that means these are purely efficiency measures to make sure that overall the world, the fleet, what fuel it consumes, comes down as long as it is based on your carbon emissions, and therefore you reduce your footprint out there.
Rightly said. I'd like to bring in Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Of course, sir, we can say that this 3-step system will be able to give us the sustainable goal in the shipping industry.
We are very data hungry country, although we don't have a data deployed operations we have always. So this will definitely bring in a lot of data from ships, and really measurements will come onto the table. as to what needs to be done.
So,
This
sir, I
is
would like to ask
my
you further, extending this question, that the real-time feedback and the data analysis, what kind of methodology would be used in this digital era?
Now, though, we have a whole lot of plethora of technology available at our footsteps. So we have the artificial intelligence, we have machine learning, we have all data point collection. Today, I'm working with one of the very big oil majors in the world, where every ship is, sending 2,000 data points. So all this data is going to be analyzed ashore, and this is going to play a very big role, because only data can speak to you and to understand the scientific repercussions and the measures that to be implemented or employed.
So, sir, I'd like to bring in Shri Nayyar. Sir, my question to you is, as it is said in one of the news reports which I was going through, the scale of the challenging means that any approach needs to involve every aspect of shipping, not just the industry itself. So please, could you throw a light on this, please?
If today, let's say we talk of shore power, that the port gives you shore power and therefore you burn less of your fuel. But if that shore power in the port is coming from a coal-based power plant, you have defeated the purpose. So it is not about just having these solutions. It is also about having at the back end moving to your sources of fuel, which are environmentally non-harming, your wind energy, your solar energy. And mind you, shipping will be competing for these fuels from there. Because even if we use hydrogen, if that hydrogen is green hydrogen, it is coming from solar energy or from wind energy. That's how it is being produced. That is when the effect comes out really. So that is what should be the final vision. On its own, just having your technology on one segment, but then the backup coming again from another technology which is not environmentally sound is not going to have the complete effect which we are looking for.
Sir, my last question to Rajeev Nayyar, sir. So could you give us a brief that what exactly the challenges are taking the Indian marine industry into consideration?
I would say one of the biggest challenges is our infrastructure, but I wouldn't call it a challenge. I would call it an opportunity, because what it is presenting today is there is a need to migrate in technology. India ventured into shipbuilding a few years back, did not make a dent at that time. China took the lead, and China is now one of the major players. It's an industry which India can grow. India has a 7,500 kilometer coastline, and developing countries have the major trade going across. I think 60% is from developing countries. So with that volume of cargoes and all, the challenges are there, but today, it is also leading to the opportunity for a great possible vision forward for maritime India.
Very well said. I'll like to bring in Captain Gajanan Karanjikar. Sir, of course, as you're sitting in Dubai and attending some of your meets, so I would like to know that how the world is eyeing on India in terms of the marine sector, especially towards the
See,
decarbonization.
today I must say proudly, being abroad, that the entire world is very proud of India, and rightly so. India is sitting in the right stride. No, it is not falling on deaf ears. The expectations of the world are being heard by India as well.
Captain Gajanan Karanjikar, sir, quick words. Of course, we have seen the inland waterway transportation also, especially I have witnessed myself in Ganges. So, sir, what kind of decarbonization process can be adapted in the inland waterways?
So inland waterways offers a great opportunity again for the decarbonization. I mean, there has to be a starting point which is decarbonized. So that is the need. Let's not go for decarbonization in the inland waterways, but do something or use a transportation which is a carbon neutral, to say in the words of climate change.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us.